So we really want to be more skillful at asking questions instead of just telling people stuff. Ask the right questions so they can make their own decisions, and that's how you can really become a compelling salesperson, in my opinion.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Vulcan 7 Coaches and Mentors, where we bring you some of the best in the industry to share with you their tips and strategies so that you can implement them in your business immediately. Now, on today's episode, I have an amazing guest out of California. I'm going to go ahead and just bring him on, Dominic Nicoli. Welcome,
All
Dominic.
right. Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here with you, Loida.
Absolutely. So for
Yes.
everyone that's watching, maybe they're not familiar with you, just go ahead and give us a little bit
Yeah.
about your background and all about yourself.
Yeah, so I started in this crazy business of real estate, I think in 1996. So it's been a few years. And I'm in the Bay Area, Northern California. I work for a company called Intero Real Estate Services. But I was connected. I got in 96. I got connected with Mike Ferry coaching relatively early on in my career, which, you know, we'll talk a little bit about that. But, we started calling expired listings and for sale by owners and door knocking and just listened to sold calls and all those things. So started off doing that and have proceeded with still haven't incorporated my business to some degree today.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So what does your business look like today? Is it a team? How many agents? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a small team. So I have a full-time assistant, person that does running around for us, and then I have three licensed agents. Two of them are relatively new; they're just in their first year. One that's been with me for about 7 years, and we'll do between 50 and 70 transactions a year. We're lucky; we have a pretty high price point. My average price is right around $2.5 million. And so we're in a very competitive market with extremely low inventory. So we're always looking for great ways to add more inventory and generate business in creative ways, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. A
yeah.
question that I love to ask our guests is,
Uh-huh.
what did life look like before you got into real estate? Was there a previous career? What made you get into the
Yeah.
business?
So I was in college, and my parents were real estate developers, had a small brokerage about an hour from where I work now. And I only knew, I was joking, I only knew one thing when I was graduating from college, and that was that I was not going to get into real estate. That was it. But I ended up just through a quirky series of events meeting a guy named Gino Blafari, who some of your people will know. He's now the CEO for Home Services of America. He was a broker at the time, a manager, and one of the owners of a company. And I ended up going to work as an assistant for him, which I spent about a year and a half doing. And he was the one that was guilty of getting me into this goofy business.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it was that person. Was
yeah.
it a big, change for you? Was it what you were expecting, or what was that first year like?
So I have the luxury, which a lot of agents don't, of being an assistant for a busy agent. So I was involved in a lot of listing presentations and buyer presentations. And so when I started on my own, I was young. I was 24, but I had a year under my belt of at least understanding how the process worked. And then I knew from my background that you had to prospect.
Mhm.
So it's funny because I actually went to Gino one day and I said, "Hey, after I finish my assistant work, is it okay if I go prospect?" And he was like, "Sure." And back in those days, we had these really old fashioned, I think they were Floyd Wickman scripts or something. And I mean, I'm reading the script and, I start setting appointments, and so I just knew early on, it was clear that I kind of had an affinity to prospect. So that just to me was natural. I was in sales. I was like, I know I have to go out and find business. So I really wanted to do that. So that for me was so the answer to your question is when I got into the business, I kind of knew what I was getting into. And I was embracing it and really as a young person and still to this day, I'm always looking to try to learn and improve and I needed a lot of learning back then and still could use some now, but it was a lot of that.
It's funny that you mentioned that, you wanted to prospect because I feel
Mhm.
that nowadays agents are trying to that's the last thing they want to do. It's like, what do I have to do to not pick up the phone?
I was going to talk today about magic answers because I know that's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah,
And what's the only one that I know that works every time is really, really working hard, which is the one that nobody wants to hear, of course. But it's just true.
exactly. So for
Yeah,
someone that's watching that is saying, you know what? First of all, I wish that I was in your market because you're saying, it's 2.5 million or 2 million your average price point. There's some agents, they might be in the middle of nowhere where their average price point is like 100,000. But let's say
yeah,
they're like, you know what, 2025, this is a year I'm gonna pick up the phone, I'm gonna prospect. Like, where
yeah,
do they need to get started? First with their mindset and then with like a schedule.
yeah. Great question. So I have my team. We work every day on developing and making sure that everybody's got some sort of a pre-prospecting routine. And it doesn't have to be real complicated. I think wake up in the morning, get some form of movement.
Mhm.
Whether it's going for a walk or exercising or whatever it is that you do. Um, I try to read or listen or watch something. I don't do it every day, but most days I try to put something positive in my brain just to get myself in the right mind space. Um, eat something healthy, but make sure you show up at the office, at a specific time because I think that's your first appointment day is already set. That's your prospecting appointment. So you should have one appointment set every day, no matter what. When you start that day, and you just have to I recommend if you can afford it as soon as you can afford it, because I couldn't afford it when I started, but to get involved with coaching, there are so many great coaches out there, whether it's Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry or but just really help me as a young agent to get some clear direction and to help accountability. Um, but you know practice what you're going to say. I play golf. I always go to the driving range before I tee off, right? It's the same thing with prospecting. You want to practice a little bit, and you just got to do it, and you get better by doing it. Um, and you have to talk to people, and it's really, we say simple but not easy. The more people you talk to, the more business you will do, and we can talk more about who to talk to, but really fundamentally you got to be talking to, especially as a new agent. I would be, back when I started, I would sometimes talk to 50 or 75 people a day. And that was my job. My job is to set appointments and to get people to sign listings and to write contracts. I mean, that's my job. So the sooner you figure that out, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So, what kind of people obviously should agents be talking to? Are you still prospecting? What does your
Yeah.
daily routine look like?
Yeah. I still prospect. So pretty much from the time I get to the office, which typically is right around 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the phones by 8:30, and I'm generally prospecting till at least 12. And if business gets slower, I don't have appointments, I'll a lot of times prospect more in the afternoons. That's my job. So I am clear. My job is to set an appointment or more every single day, and that's my goal. So I always say that there's we know that there's certain people that we already know want to sell their property. So that would be like an expired listing or a for sale by owner. Some of the great people that you can get through Vulcan 7. Um, we already know they want to sell. So I'm not going to talk to somebody that I don't know if wants to sell when I've already got people that do, right? So I'm going to start with those. And then as I progressed in my business over time, now a bigger portion of the people I talk to are people that I've already have relationships with, past clients. But in the beginning, it was, expired listings, for sale by owners, follow up on all my leads, and then I would go around and call around any listing or sale that we had, or if we're working with a buyer that's looking for a specific neighborhood, that type of thing. But just talking to as many people as I possibly can, and that's looking for yeses.
Mhm. Exactly. And
Yeah,
before we hopped on, I had asked you about Vulcan 7, and you mentioned you've been
mm,
using this platform
yeah,
for quite some time. So share with us your experiences and if there's
yeah.
any, one deal that stands out that came through like a lead, anything that you'd like to share.
Well, So I've used it for a long period of time, and quite frankly, for me and my market, we've been in a market where I know it's different than a lot of parts of the country, but we started the year here in the marketplace that I serve, the county that I serve. We had 500 homes for sale out of 400,000 homes, which is very little, almost one out of
Yeah.
1,000. So when the market's like it's been here the last few, and this is not a new phenomenon, it's been like this for several years here. We don't get a ton of expired listings, so they're pretty few and far between. And so I might get one or two a day on some days, right? Which is not very many compared to a lot of markets. So you kind of have to know and work and service the opportunities that you have inside your marketplace. Some markets are very, very different. So we use it for, of course, expired listings and for sell by owners. A lot of calls my team will call around listings and sales. We use the mapping, drawing features, and all those cool tools that we have. One of the things that we're using it for quite frequently now is just the single property, where we can look up an owner's information if we have a property. So we might have a home builder that's looking in a specific area, and we can then sell them a property, and they'll give us all the listings on the of whatever we find, kind of thing. So we identify a lot of individual homeowners with properties that match what our clients are looking for. That's been a really popular one. But over the years, I've done hundreds of expired listings, and I found also, just to I'm not paid to do this, but this is just the truth. We've used a bunch of the different companies and services, and I have not found anyone that has better data than the data that Vulcan provides. So we have other companies sometimes that'll send us lists of properties with phone numbers, and half the time I'm going back into Vulcan because you guys have information on
Yeah.
property owners that some of the other services don't even have. So kudos to you guys. Um, but for us, it's a very useful tool that we take advantage of quite every single day.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome. No, thank you for
yeah,
sharing. I mean, we hear it all the time, and it's
yeah,
exciting to hear how you're using kind of like the neighborhood search and the skip
yeah,
tracing,
yeah.
because a lot of agents that are listening, they probably think that Vulcan 7 just has the expires and for sale by owners, but there's so many tools and resources within the dashboard that you can take advantage of.
Yeah, it's been a really, really integral part of our team. Have the whole team is set up to use it, and then of course we track calls and monitor the stuff. So as a team leader, that's useful for me too, so I can see what people are doing. Um,
Yes.
you
That's
know,
exciting.
yeah,
Or not
yeah,
doing, maybe.
or not doing. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Let's say an agent is watching this, and this is more in regards to the market because the market, where you're at, there might be low inventory. In other places, there might be a lot of
Uh-huh.
inventory.
Exactly.
So let's say I'm an agent watching this, and maybe I'm a newer agent. I'm like, you know what, Dominic, how do I explain to people when they ask me, what is the market like right now? Is it a good time to buy, to sell? What should I do? What would you tell an
Well,
agent?
I heard a great line. I was just at the one-on-one retreat, production retreat for Mike Berry in January, which we go to every year. And somebody asked Mike, or Mike had a line that he said, what do you say when people ask you how the market is? And his line, which I loved and I've been using, is, you know what? I'm so glad you asked. We're actually right now looking for people that need to sell the house. So who do you know that might need to sell their property? We've got low inventory. So I think that's great. I other than that, I mean, obviously you can talk about market stats and stuff like that. Hey, we've got super low inventory. We got a ton of buyers looking. It's a great time. But I like that line of, like, you know what? I'm so glad you asked. It's a great time. In fact, we're looking for people right now that need to sell or buy. Who do
Exactly.
you know that might need to do that here in the next 30 or 60 days? So I think you can kind of just flip flop it that way. But um,
Yeah,
that
that's a
makes
good
sense.
one. And, aside from that, let's say if an agent does just want to get educated on the market, what are
Mhm.
some of the statistics or things that they need to be looking at on the MLS so that they, are an expert in what's really going
Yeah,
on in their area?
really good question. So what I do with my team, we have a meeting every Monday, and so every week I pull just a few basic stats, and so and I want the team to know these, because when you're prospecting, you're talking to people, it's really important. to come across as a market expert. So you should know, how many homes are for sale, how many homes sold the last month, how many are currently pending. And then I want to know, depending on the market, for us now, there's not a lot that expire and cancel. But if I was in a regular market that had a lot of expired and cancels, I would want to know those numbers as well for my listing presentations. And then, things like days on market, anything that's relevant to you want to be, when you go meet with a seller, a lot of times what I found is that sometimes the sellers know more about the real estate market than the agent does. You never want to be in that spot. So you should know, we go on a listing appointment, we study everything about that specific little market. And I have an area we work a lot of different markets that are very different. So, so we have to take some time every time we go on an appointment to make sure we're educated on all those numbers. And I want the clients to know that I know those numbers, because it's going to give me credibility as a market expert, to know the basic things. So for the really analytical people out there, don't go overboard because you'll lose people. But you should just know a few of the basic things, so you sound like you know what you're talking about. Really, really important.
Perfect. Yeah. So for
Yeah,
everyone that's watching, they might need to rewind, the past couple minutes to just write down some notes on what you just said.
yeah,
And I have one
yeah.
more question for you. Let's say
Sure.
I'm a potential buyer, because obviously the price point where you're at, it's pretty
Mhm.
high. What do you say to potential buyers that tell you, you know what, I'm waiting for the interest rates to go down. I really want to buy, but it's just everything's high right now.
Yeah. So that's very common with buyers and sellers, by the way. So we want to wait. And so, the question is, there's a great book that I have that I highly recommend. It's called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. And it's got a lot of great little tweaks that you can add into your existing scripting. It's not like it's just little things, but
Okay.
there's things like, how certain are you that the interest rates are going to come down? What would happen if they didn't? You know, if rates go down, what do you think is going to happen to the price of real estate? Right? Would you rather buy now at a lower price, or risk that they go down? And guess what happens? Right? Prices go up and then you're paying more for the property. So why not get in while you can still get a lower price? And then there's all those great lines like, you date your interest rate, you marry your property. Okay. So you can, but I think what you want to be telling people is it's a huge advantage to buy when the rates are higher, even though as long as you can qualify for it, as long as you can
Mhm.
afford it. But it's actually beneficial, because when rates come down, it'll cause prices to go up, you know, and that's, buyers would much rather, in my experience, get in for a lower price,
Mhm.
rather than, be paying more. The other thing is, in a really competitive market, we already have, like, we'll have one of our listings, that we'll be selling tomorrow. We'll probably have between 20 and 30 offers on it. That's, we just have such
Wow.
a constrained supply that we have
Yeah.
lots of buyers here. And if the rates went down, that might go to, 10 more buyers, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so more competition, which is going to drive prices up. So it's really beneficial for people to get in. And if they think prices are going to go up, I would say to people, get in as soon as you can, and then
Mhm.
enjoy the equity that you're going to build over the next 2 or 3 months. Wouldn't that be great? And so, so I think it's just explaining, what it is with them. And I always tell agents too, because I think this is the thing that gets missed a lot. And I know we obviously don't have much time, but everything we do for our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, we want to make sure we always tell the truth 100%. We gain their trust. I really talk to my team a lot about this. I think the fundamental part of being a great salesperson is to really gain trust, because their buyers or sellers are not going to accept your message if they don't really trust that you're doing what's best for them always. And so, so be careful about making promises or anything like that. Just ask questions. How certain are you that rates are going to come down? What would happen if they didn't? You know, if rates come down, do you know what typically happens to prices? They go up. Would you rather buy at a lower price now, or risk, buying at a higher price if you think rates are going to come down? And it's not me promising or telling them anything. I'm just asking questions that are going to obviously make it, make make a compelling case for them to maybe take action when they wouldn't want to, you know? And
Yeah.
so, so we really want to be, you know, more skillful at asking questions instead of just telling people stuff, you know, ask the right questions so they can make their own decisions. And that's how you can really become a compelling salesperson, in my opinion. you know?
Exactly. No, I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah. Asking
yeah,
questions, listening, educating them
100%.
and leading them
Yeah,
to make a wise decision that they're going to be happy
yeah,
with. The last thing we
yeah,
want is someone, being upset that their
yeah,
agent told them or made them do something.
exactly. Hey, we can wait if you want, but what would happen? What would
Mhm.
happen if this happened? What would happen if that happened? Why not buy
Yeah,
now? Take advantage of the,
exactly.
the place that we're at. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So for anyone that's watching, maybe they have a referral for you. Maybe have that a
please,
listing because you
we
have
love
so many
those.
buyers, right? Tell everyone where they can find you and also where in the Bay Area you are located.
Yeah, so we are about 45 minutes south of San Francisco. I think most people probably know what an iPhone is, and we live about we're 2 or 3 miles from the Apple campus. We're right by a lot of the technology companies. We service Santa Clara and San Mateo counties. Um, so anywhere between San Francisco and San Jose, I'm your guy. Call us. We'll take great care of your clients and make sure we make you look like a star. And my link to my website is underneath my name there. It's the nicoligroup.com. And I'll give you my phone number too. I know we didn't put that up there, but it's 408-892-3122. 408-892-3122. And I have people oftentimes too, if you've got somebody in the Bay Area, Northern California, you can always call me. And if we can't service you, I'll put you with a really highly qualified, awesome agent that can help you. And always happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dominic, for
All
coming
right.
in. I told you in the beginning it was going to go by fast. Here we are at
Okay,
the
fast.
end, but you dropped a lot of great information. We're going to make sure to put all of your links in the description box below. And with that being said, everyone, we'll see you on the next one.